T-minus 10 minutes. T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. T-minus 5 minutes. T-minus for minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
And here we go. Very special day on the RP show. You know why? It's Wednesday. So that means it's just you and me for all of hour one here on Game Plus Television across Canada and 33 U.S. states. And then we'll be rolling into Nevada in hour two on Silver State Sports. Our good friend Janice Taylor joining us in hour two, the founder and CEO of WilsonQ. Yes, she's back. She's got some very exciting things to talk about. And I know you're all excited and geeked up and ready to talk. I want to get this in right away. This one came in on from the West Coast. I'm taking my glasses off. I get this glare. When it's just me, I can handle it without my glasses. She says, hey there, from the 604, Van City Mammy is ready for some sports talk this morning. Thanks to AB3. Arlen Bruce, I got all my NHL picks right. Oh, don't remind me. Yeah, Arlen Bruce beat me in NHL picks. Everybody beat me in NHL picks last night. That's a very good place to start, Van City Mammy. Thank you. And as a matter of fact, just for some fun, let's hear from all the females out there, can we? Because usually the males that are writing into this program. Not that I have a problem with the men, but let's hear from the women too. You might enjoy Janice Taylor coming up in hour two. But hey, the big story for me today, we open with the quick six and the warm-up for Neil Chark and Uniglobe Carefree Travel, as you see on the screen, the official travel partners of the RP show and the CFL's BC Lions. It is the Stanley Cup Playoffs. So let's just ease into it here. There's no co-host today, as I said. But yesterday, Scruffy went 3 for 4 on picks. The one where we differed was Utah, Vegas. And I'm going to also pass along a big thank you from Jeff Chikrin, because Chick's kind of a quiet guy. You probably noticed that. I mean, he's got his strong opinions and so forth, but it was his RP show debut yesterday, and everybody loved him. So Chick wanted to pass along a big thank you for being so welcoming to him. But that's kind of what we do here, right, around the RP show. And he talked about this Utah team and this long, painful rebuild that they've been through. And Utah, Darren's already checked in this morning from Salt Lake City. He's watching. The same guy that said the ESPN crew acted like they hadn't watched Utah all year. They didn't even know who the players are. Guess what, Darren? Nobody knows who they are. But I feel like they're starting to. So I guess we're into it. We're in it. Tuesday night, Stanley Cup playoffs. Full disclosure, I was at the baseball game, Major League Baseball, the Marlins and the Cardinals, where I got this spiffy shirt, which everybody's raving about. This isn't even a shirt. This is a baseball jacket. And I said, this thing is making its way north back to Sask this summer when I'm working in the Western Canadian Baseball League because I love this thing. People are raving about this. And I'm wearing it because I'm like, for what I paid for it, I may wear it every day. Not just on this show, but all summer long. But anyways, I didn't watch the games, but I'll tell you this. I was listening on the radio on the way home, and I heard Tampa Bay beat Montreal. I heard the game-winning goal, J.J. Moser, scoring at 12:48 of overtime. Tampa Bay Lightning beat Montreal 3-2. And dagnabbit, this opening segment goes so fast here are the warm-ups. So I'll just get through these games. Boston beat Buffalo 4-2. And that's a bit of a row. I think people are saying, oh, Sabres are in trouble. I don't think Buffalo's still a better team. That's why they have home ice. Utah, as I mentioned, they beat Vegas. I've got written here 3-2, but wasn't it 4-2? Either way, Utah won. It's the playoffs. The score don't matter. This ain't soccer, and it's not college football. Utah beat Vegas in the Fortress last night, which I didn't see coming. I had Vegas picked to win that game. And to be honest, of all these series, I feel like Utah-Vegas is going to be the longest of them. I can see this one going 7. So, yeah, the young people need to understand. A lot of people need to understand some things. Just because you lose a playoff game, not a reason to panic. And the coaches know that. That's their job. That's what they're telling the players. But as the fans say, and the longtime Rider fans that know how I operate, I would say if you want to run around like your hair's on fire, the sky's falling because you lost a game, you go ahead, but keep that energy away from me. Colorado beat LA 2-1 in overtime. Nick Roy, the game-winning goal at 7:44 and the overtime. And the Avalanche are up 2-0 on the LA Kings. And if that ends up in a sweep, I don't think any of us will be surprised. But a couple of things. And by the way, in the warm-up here for Neil Chark, Uniglobe Carefree Travel, the official travel partner of the BC Lions of the RP show, we're going to talk about the NHL games tonight, which incidentally is the poll question for Country Thunder. What's the game of the night? They're all bangers. Number 3, some Major League Baseball. I really enjoyed myself at the Marlins game last night. Thank you, Chris from the Bronx, for taking me. It's Veterans Night. The Marlins do it every month. They give 2 free tickets away to Army, Navy, and Air Force veterans. And I'm just lucky enough that Chris takes me along. I don't think his wife wants to go. It's perfect for us. We're going to talk CFL, NFL. I roll the football into one. And we're going to talk some NBA, all in this warm-up here in hour 1, where I get to be the Larry King of sports, right? Gloria in Prairie City, Illinois. Hello. I just never get tired of it. And I put down Prairie City, Illinois, because we got mail once from Prairie City, Illinois. I think it was Gloria, actually. I'd have to go back and check, but I have every letter anybody's ever sent. And she said, it's Gloria from Prairie City, Illinois. How come you keep preempting in the heat of the night every night? How come on the TV they put you on instead of in the heat of I'm not TV guide. Producer Corey just said, ask Sidney Poitier. Ask your local cable channel. I don't know. It's like guests coming over. Thanks for coming over. When are you leaving? Didn't make me feel real good. Anyways, you people voted last night or yesterday that last night's game of the night was Tampa Bay Montreal. And boy, was it. I put in my commentary today that I got all these Hab fan friends, and so far we're getting along great. It's been a lot of fun back and forth for now. We'll see how long this lasts. But my phone was blowing up last night. I'm at Lone Depot Park, the home of the Marlins, and I'm seeing screenshots of the fighting and the brawls, and I'm like, they're like, oh, they're brawling. I'm like, are they really brawling? And then I saw the fight between Brandon Hagel and Yuri Slavkovsky, and I'm like, whoa, okay, this is for real. And if the Tampa Bay Lightning had 20 Brandon Hagels, they don't lose a game. But I'll say this, when people need to learn something, there's a local radio guy here. I'm going to have to talk about this after the break, but he's waving this flag of, and now do we believe Tampa's the dirtiest team in the league? Well, we knew that all year, so thanks for joining the party. They tell me he's a good guy. I've never met him, But I'm like, if you're going to call them the dirtiest team in the league, can you just understand that's not an insult? That's what they wanted to be, and they've accomplished it, and they showed Montreal last night. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help.
Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hold on tight, Moose Jaw. Professional bull riding is back. PBR Canada charges into the Temple Garden Center April 25th. See the toughest riders take on the rankest bulls in a night of non-stop, edgier seat action. Whether you're a diehard fan or brand new to PBR, this is one show you don't want to miss. Tickets are on sale now at sastix.ca or at the box office. But don't wait, they'll sell fast. Professional Bull Riding Canada in Moose Jaw.
Proudly presented by Pepicasi's Developments Limited.
21-time nominated Grammy Award winner Dwight Yoakam. Live in concert. June 24th, 7 p.m., Temple Garden Center. Dwight Yoakam. On sale now at sastix.ca. Dwight Yoakam Live.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're in it. Now we can settle in. That first segment just flies right by. It's brought to you, the entire warm-up segment, the Quick Six show topics are brought to you by our friends at Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the preferred travel partner of the RP Show, and the BC Lions. When it comes to sports trips, group travel, or your next great getaway, trust the pros who handle every detail so you can enjoy the journey. Contact Neil Chark with Uniglobe Carefree Travel. Translation, go through a travel agency. Don't get screwed over trying to do it yourself. And I thank the Rod Squad, you viewers, for selling out their trip to Toronto twice this summer. I said that we would have it sold out by the end of April. You people did it in a week. And by the way, when I say you people, this will blow your mind. As I was watching the Marlins game last night with Chris from the Bronx right beside me, he's probably watching right now. He didn't know who Don Cherry was. I had to explain to him who Don Cherry was and is. He's still alive. And I know that would blow a lot of your mind. There's a lot of things that will blow your minds today. That's just one. Chris from the Bronx didn't know who Don Cherry was, so just hang on. Utah Darren writes in and says, good morning, everyone. I didn't think it would happen, but the Mammoths stole one in Vegas. The I-15 series is all tied up 1-1. Yeah, I wish I watched a little more of that game. I feel like I'm going to have a longer nap in the afternoon. Allow me to stay up a little later. The text line is open, 902-518-3033, 902-518-3033. Bob in Medicine Hat writes in. He says, good day, Rod. Bob from the Gas City again. I see you are solo for the first hour. Doesn't matter. You still do an awesome job. Have a great day, Rod. The Larry King of Sports. Stanley in Tucson, you're on the air. Hello. David number 2 in Winnipeg writes in and says, good day, Rod. Lightning bolt right hand from Hegel. Down goes Slavkovsky. Woo! Just back to that Tampa Bay. Did you see John Cooper by chance after the game? I mean, I miss TSN. I'm looking forward to getting back to Canada. I really am in the summertime and getting able to watch TSN every day where they have hockey highlights and hockey talk year round. It's awesome. I mean, here's another thing that'll blow your mind. It's not just Chris from the Bronx. All my friends here aren't following hockey anymore. They're like, the Panthers are out, we're done. And I'm like, what? It's actually a thing. I know it's very hard for us Canadians to understand, but the Americans, they're following as long as their team's in. I get it. It's like the Blue Jays. Once the Blue Jays are out, I'm not really following Major League Baseball. I totally get that, but I'm still here following hockey, and that's why you're here. What I also love, we're gonna go a little off-roading here, just so you know, so buckle up. Off-roading in that when I open up the text line from the day before, there's a lot of texts in here from people that were watching the replay, whether it's later on Game Plus TV or in primetime in Vegas, whatever. People think we're live, so they write in 902-518-3033 to that text line for Western Dodge, which, by the way, experienced the Western Dodge difference, local, reliable, and driven to find the perfect vehicle for you. Again, 902-518-3033. I asked yesterday, what sport are you not even following at all? Because I got my eye on the junior hockey playoffs, both the Dub and the SJ. I got my eye on the NBA playoffs because I actually am interested in it. I'm following the scores. I'm not necessarily watching the games, but I'm not following anything to do with MLS. Get the World Cup out of here. I'm just not. And Bob writes in from the Bridge City, and he says, Live. I'm not watching Live Golf. Well, from the sounds of things, you're not going to have to worry about that anyways. They're not going to be around here much longer. Twisted Mike writes in. He's a Red Wings fan. And I said yesterday, what's the greatest stadium food you've ever had? For me, it was a chili dog with jalapenos on it, 22 inches long in Cowboy Stadium in Dallas. I still think about it. Twisted Mike writes in and he says, best stadium food? Small town, Saskatchewan, Rink Burgers. And I will not lie, I agree with you. But that's not available to me here. And last night at the Marlins game, I had a 12-inch chili cheese dog. To quote Bobby Lowe's, it was just okay. Just okay. Rick is watching in Martinsville. Rick in Martinsville, hello. He writes in, the Habs-Bolts game was fire. Cuthbert and Simpson, I know it's a Canada team, but at least try to be somewhat unbiased. Can you be a little more specific? That's the one thing I have not a lot of time for. The complaining about the announcers, about everything. Everybody's trying to do a great job, okay? They want the Canadian team to win. Shocking. Monty in the Bridge City writes in and says, you are so great. Thank you, Monty. I agree. Thank you. 902-518-3033. Oh, my God. As of 2 years ago, Utah Darren didn't even follow hockey at all. I get a bang out of this. Utah Darren, he's been watching this show. Thank you. He writes and he says, watching Genther and Cooley last night against the Golden Knights reminded me of our Roadrunner cartoon. Beep, beep. Fast dudes. Well, it's funny because I said yesterday the poll question for Country Thunder was, what's the game of the night in the NHL? Finishing fourth, and I mean a distant fourth, was Vegas, Utah. And that shocked the hell out of me based on the games last night, which incidentally today's poll question is the exact same thing. What's the game of the night in the NHL? All of them are bangers tonight. And I'm not ready to get to that yet. We will in this hour. We will get to that. But listen to me. I go back to the Jeff Chikrin interview from yesterday that everybody loved. Chick is such an unbelievable guy, and he's so smart. And there's a reason that he's on Panthers television as an analyst. People love him here. He knows his stuff. And we talked about the rise of Utah. His kid, Jacob Chikrin, played for the Arizona Coyotes for 7 years. So I said, if there was a book about the Coyotes, I would read it. Although, to be honest, I don't really need to read it. I was there and lived it. And the word in hockey amongst the guys that I talked to, I'm like, what happened? Arizona Coyotes were not in the playoffs from 2012 on. They weren't even in the playoffs at all. And they go to Utah, and in year 2, they're in. And the hockey guy ownership, including Jersey Jim, who will be on this show next week. We were texting back and forth this morning. Ownership. Guys want to go to Utah. I guess they like the city. I've never been to Salt Lake City. The owner's really cool. If you can believe, he is inviting. I follow him on Twitter. His name's Ryan Smith, and he is inviting fans to come sit in his suite. Can you imagine? Come sit in a suite with me in Game 3. Retweet for a random. Who does that? Other than a really cool owner. And it's changed, which, by the way, I was in the owner's suite for the Arizona Coyotes, and that was something. That was something. They weren't inviting anybody in there. They had their hands full, as it was. 902-518-3033. As far as the game of the night, I haven't looked at the poll results for today's poll for Country Thunder for what's the game of the night, but Scott in Vancouver writes in, he says, it's weird that the Oilers-Ducks are a game behind all the other series. Oh, in terms of time, yeah. It is what it is. We'll be happy about that when all these other series wrap up and we still have more hockey to watch. Speaking of Jersey Jim, he texted me this morning and said, I could go dig it up on my phone here, but I got 18 devices going. I don't know if I could find the text, but he just said the game changed last night with the Slavkovsky-Hagel fight. Can anybody tell me if that's true? Because I wasn't watching the game. I was at the baseball park. Man, really enjoying that. But it's one thing to see the fans tweeting things. I just get it. I'm like, that's fans. Not a big deal. It's fine. I respect them, but I don't put any credence in what they have to say. When there's a sports talk host here in South Florida who's saying, see, now will you agree that Tampa's the dirtiest team? Who cares? You're saying that like it's an insult. Just so you know, the Tampa Bay Lightning kicked the shit out of the Florida Panthers back in the day when they were winning Stanley Cup. Zach Bogosian, Pat Maroon, Hedman, they were men. And the Panthers were when I first got here 5 years ago, and the Panthers were a bunch of nice boys named Mason, and Sam, and those Sams are still here, but they grew up. And they started kicking the sand in the Lightning's faces, and everybody else's for that matter, right? You know it. You've seen it. And Tampa Bay said, we need to get tougher. They said that going into the year. And the results were on display last night. And what I love about the NHL is that it is still a man's league. And when John Cooper comes out after game 1 and says, our players were guilty of stupidity. It's just old school coaching. You know what? It does still work. It still works in certain environments. 902-518-3033. John in Edmonton writes in, and says the glass was shattered at the Kings-Avs game. Fans shattered the glass. I know I saw that. It was behind the whoever's bench. I mean, I don't know what the hell they were doing. I hope those fans got kicked out. It's one thing for it to happen, players to do it, but for fans? 902-518-3033. I got it. Wilf writes in from Steinbach, Manitoba on the Western Dodge text line. He says, hey, Rod, I enjoyed the Habs-Bolts game. The hits, the fights, but not the wrestling matches after every other whistle. You kind of got to go along with it, right? It's all part and parcel. I don't like it either. Every time that happens, I think of my dad and the hundreds, if not thousands, of hockey games that I watched with my dad, that he would sit in the crowd and yell, come on, guys, play hockey. That's what John Cooper wants, and they won. Tony from the Bridge City writes in on the Western Dodge text line, says, good morning, Rod and everyone. It's been a while. I've been fighting a horrible cold, but I'm feeling better and enjoying the playoffs as well as golf. I still think whoever wins between Tampa and Montreal will be in the Stanley Cup final. War of attrition. I'll say to you what my neighbor Gail said, my former neighbor Gail. We don't live next door to him anymore, but did, and we went for supper last week. I said, I got this bad cold. I picked it up in New York. I've had it for 3 weeks. Gail's from France, he says. But he goes, maybe it's COVID. You might be right, Gail. I don't know. At this point, it doesn't matter because I'm at the tail end of it. Tony, maybe it's COVID. We went for supper last week at an Italian restaurant in Meisner Park in downtown Boca Raton, and there was a chunk of saran wrap in his lasagna. It got uncomfortable. They tried to tell him that it was an onion skin. Gail, no, it is not. Producer Corey just goes, are you serious? I'm as serious as a heart attack, man. I just sat there and watched. I'm like, this is uncomfortable. This is very uncomfortable. Kirk in Toronto writes, and he says, hey, Rod, Hoffman loads the bases, gets pulled, and Varland saves the game. Oh, you're talking about the Blue Jays win at Anaheim last night. Hang on, I'll get to that when we come back. Told you we were going to go a little off-roading today, putting it in 4x4, which is fine. 902-518-3033. Janice Taylor coming up an hour or two. It's been a few weeks since we've talked with her, and it's going to be fantastic. The viewers love Janice on here, the founder and CEO of WilsonQ, as seen on Oprah from her first tech startup, which was called the Just Be Friends app. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Janice on. Will be joining us from the West Coast. We'll be back right after this. You're watching the RP Show across Canada on Game Plus TV in 33 states, podcast, and WQVZ radio.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away, ultimatefanzone.ca. Or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results.
At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote your rebel, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hold on tight, Moose Jaw. Professional bull riding is back. PBR Canada charges into the Temple Garden Center April 25th. See the toughest riders take on the rankest bulls in a night of non-stop, edge-of-your-seat action. Whether you're a diehard fan or brand new to PBR, this is one show you don't want to miss. Tickets are on sale now at sastix.ca or at the box office. But don't wait, they'll sell fast. Professional Bull Riding Canada in Moose Jaw.
Proudly presented by Pedersen Developments Limited.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you're having as much fun as I am in this chair on the RP Show, episode number 1722. And this was not a kick in the pants from the viewers, but they're bringing up the baseball. They're bringing up a little football. That's my cue to move on a little bit of what we've been talking about. But just so you know, you're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs every night. You want to know what to order. Well, if you are in southern Saskatchewan, why would you not go to the Mad Greek Eatery, dine in, pick up? Whether it's pizza, ribs, or authentic Greek favorites, make it the Mad Greek Eatery tonight. Open until 11 p.m. So with all these Blue Jays fans, let me just get somewhat back on track here, which, by the way, the Quick Six Show topics are brought to you by Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the official travel partner of the RP Show, and the BC Lions. The picks we'll do later. They're for Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon, Pump Jack's Cathedral, and Pump Jack's Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. Arlen Bruce beat me in picks last night, as did Scruffy. So, yeah, I feel shame today. Point 3. Lenine Sosa's two-run double in the 8th inning snapped a 1-1 deadlock and lifted the visiting Toronto Blue Jays to a 4-2 victory over the LA Angels Tuesday night. Eloy Jimenez had 2 RBIs as the Jays won their 3rd in a row. Starter Patrick Corbin pitched 5 innings of 2-hit ball, allowing 1 run. Louis Varland got the save. The Jays wrap up their 3-game series in Anaheim on Wednesday. That's today. The A's wrap up their series in Seattle. While we're at it, Cardinals and Miami Marlins wrapping up their series. They're on the field right now at Lone Depot Park. It's unbelievable the turnaround in baseball, but just hang on a second. So I'm sitting there last night at the Marlins game. Trust me, I'm watching baseball. I can talk it. And my friend Chris from the Bronx is one of the first guys I met when I got here 5 years ago. So we stayed very close. He used to coach baseball, so he's really into it. And now that I've been working in the WCBL, NCAA baseball, I can hold a conversation in it. And there was a whole lot of things going on. We were sitting down the third baseline with a perfect view down the first baseline. There was a lot of home runs hit in right field. There was a lot of disputed calls happened right in front of us. It was great. But we were talking about the Blue Jays going to the World Series and then the struggles that they're having this year. Would they lose 6 series in a row going into this series at L.A., and which they've already won because they've won the first 2 games. And he just, for instance, just speaking of struggles, Kirk in Toronto writes in on the text line, 902-518-3033. He says, in the Toronto Sun poll today, should the Blue Jays move on from Jeff Hoffman as closer? So just hang on. Where I just giggle a little bit is that this is April. We all say that it's early, but they're not going to stand for, I wouldn't think, Hoffman potentially blowing games. Not after what happened in the World Series last year, yet they didn't really address it in the offseason. And as I said to Chris from the Bronx last night, everybody got extensions in Toronto. That's why I'm very hesitant on that, but that's just me. I've never ran a Major League Baseball team or any sports team, but I'm like, okay, we went to the World Series. You get an extension. You get an extension. You get an extension. Everybody gets this extension. So I'm talking John Schneider, Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro. Like, they all got extensions. So, I mean, all I'm saying, especially when they're playing every single day, you're going to get caught in the tides, the ups and the downs. You go right ahead, but don't pull me into that tide, okay? I'm just at a point of, did they win, did they lose? That's all. The panic is just, maybe it's a Toronto thing. I feel like it's a Toronto thing. Just keep it away. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, writes in and says, the in-your-face, big hits and fighting brand of hockey in the East is going to mow over the pillow fight West in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. You would think that, and I'm with you, unless they're spent by the time they get to the Stanley Cup final. Think about that. It's not like they're playing patty cake in the West either, from what I've seen, but there's something to be said for brawling your way to the Stanley Cup final, which is what Tampa Bay clearly wants to do. Let's see how much energy they have left by the time they get. It worked for Florida, and it worked with Tampa when they were winning Stanley Cup, so it will probably work, but we don't know that it'll work, and that's why we tune in every night. Jason in Red Deer writes in, and he says, nah, Rod, I'm good talking NHL playoffs all day long. Me too. And just so you know, 902-518-3033 is the text line. Where are we at here? We're 35 minutes into hour one, and we've barely scratched the surface. The poll question, which we do daily for Country Thunder, the biggest party of the summer, is coming to Craven, Saskatchewan, July 9th to the 12th, featuring Lainey Wilson and Creed. Get your tickets now at countrythunder.sk. Just $20 down secures your weekend pass. Couple of things. Point four, the quick six. Said I would do NBA. LeBron James had 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. And the shorthanded Lakers outlasted the Houston Rockets for a 101-94 victory Tuesday and a stunning 2-0 lead in that first round series. Scoot Henderson scored 31 points, and the visiting Portland Trailblazers took advantage of an injury to Spurs star Victor Wembanyama, rallying for a 106-103 victory over San Antonio to even that Western Conference playoff series at a game each. So that's what's happening with the NBA. Like I said, I'm keeping my eye on it. Trust me, we'll get back to the hockey. The interesting football thing where I can meld a few things together. Point five, because it is the Canadian hour of the RP show here on Game Plus Television. News from the Canadian Football League on Tuesday. University of Miami defensive lineman Akeem Mesador is number one in the spring edition of the CFL Scouting Bureau. With that ranking, the Ottawa product has swept the top position across all 3 editions of the Scouting Bureau for the class of 2026. What that means is they do a fall ranking, they do a winter ranking, and they do a spring ranking. And in every one of those, Akeem Mesador, the Miami Hurricanes, who's an Ottawa kid, has been number one. The Ottawa Red Blacks hold the first overall selection in the 2026 CFL Canadian Draft, which will be conducted on April 28th. That's Tuesday, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern. The first 2 rounds will air on TSN. Rounds 3 to 8 will stream exclusively on TSN+. So, as I put in my commentary today, I haven't worked in the CFL in years, but I still give them the coverage because I love the league. I'm a fan, and given the state of Canadian media, from what I've seen, the league could use the help. We'll talk way more about it on Football Friday because this is not Football Friday. Now, I said I was going to roll football and CFL and NFL all into one. The NFL draft talk, I'll save for next hour when we go to Ware in Nevada, and way more tomorrow when we're joined by the Snowman, Brian Snow, Snowman in the Morning from SITM Radio, Indiana. But the other NFL story, I'll just ask you what you think of it, because I'm not going to give my thoughts on what I think of it. Mike Vrabel said Tuesday that he's had difficult conversations with people I care about, unquote, including his family, his coaching staff, and players following the publication of photos of the Patriots coach and longtime NFL reporter Diana Rossini at an Arizona resort. The photos were of Vrabel and Rossini at a Sedona resort and were taken before the annual NFL meetings that began in Phoenix March 29th. According to the New York Post, which published the photos, Vrabel and Rossini, who are both married, released written statements to the Post after the publication of the story downplaying what the photos depict. But Rossini resigned from The Athletic less than a week later, after the Post report prompted an internal investigation at the New York Times-owned sports outlet. You can write in with what your thoughts are, and I'm probably not even going to read them. Maybe, but probably not. The YouTube chat or 902-518-3033. But here's what I do know. Roger Goodell will be, thank God it's draft week. I said it last week, and I'll say it now. Can we just get to the season, please? The off-season, and it's particularly a football thing, is when everybody gets into trouble. A Joe being cut and suspended in the Canadian Football League for an off-field incident, which it was off-season. It was the night of their Grey Cup party. This story I just read, it's always in the off-season. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. By the way, we're brought to you by Suds. Are you stuck for gift ideas? Try out Suds gift cards, available online at our location or Costco. They're the ultimate for anyone who loves a clean ride. Visit sudsregina.com. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover. It's the RP Show on Game Plus TV and WQVZ Radio.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The RP Show continues here across the Game Plus TV network and WQVZ Radio. We do have a sports update coming up, but that's just so blah. I'd rather sit here and answer your questions, to be honest. It's a special time. The only hour of the week that I'm alone here is Wednesday, hour 1 of the RP Show. Carlos in Indiana writes in, he says, one nice thing about this show, having no off-season, we keep the off-season soap operas to a minimum. Right? I'll say this. I was sitting there with Chris from the Bronx last night. It's not odd that we get along as well as we do, other than he was raised in the Bronx. Hasn't spent a lot of time in Canada. Because I had to tell him who Don Cherry was and explain who Don Cherry was last. It's cool. He was never really a hockey guy. But he loves this show. He said he's like, you're like Rush Limbaugh. He goes, I have no idea what you're talking about, but it's so, you keep it entertaining. And I'm like, well, thank you, I guess. Rush Limbaugh carved out a pretty nice career. And he said last night, well, and we thank Game Plus, we more than thank Game Plus TV. They are our daddies, as we say. And Silver State Network in Nevada. I said, because another show got canceled, and you people in Canada wouldn't even know what it is, but it's Mike and Mike. Mike Golick and his son, Mike Jr., just were canceled on FanDuel TV for whatever. I don't know why, but they were. I said to Chris, it's very hard to get on television, and it's even harder to stay on television. So that's why we're so grateful to these networks for carrying us every day. And Chris said to me, Chris from the Bronx, he said, what keeps you guys on the air is your niche. You know, the back and forth with the viewers and the topics and what you do. It's so different from every other show. I think that's why Game Plus likes us. As a matter of fact, they told us that. Now, speaking of all of that, John Ohm in Winnipeg writes in, and I don't really know what prompted the question. John Ohm, he says, do you ever miss broadcasting, Rod? I'll answer that and then get back to the sports and tonight's NHL games. John, I love you, but listen to me. I am broadcasting. That's what I'm doing. So 1,722 shows ago when we launched this thing, I will tell you something, because I've called thousands of games. Seen the continent from ear to ear. Dipped my toe in both oceans, did everything from the play-by-play aspect. And I remember rolling through Calgary one time, and I was at Flames game, and I looked on the scoreboard, and it said, Boomer in the morning, fan 960. And I know Boomer. I've known him a long time. And I thought, that Boomer's got it figured out. The talk show hosting. Works Monday to Friday, weekends off, doesn't have to deal with the crap from the owners, and especially the owners' kids. I think that's what I want to do. And then the world all came around to, here we are. And I had this intuition. I'm like, what the world needs is a mid-morning sports talk show, especially across Canada. Ended up in the States. This is what the world needs, is that. That's what I'd rather do. And so when I say I'm broadcasting, I relate it to the coaches and the scouts in sports. I can name names. They watch this. Bobby Lowe's watches this show from the Vegas Golden Knights. 2-time Canadian Hockey League Coach of the Year, now scouting for the Golden Knights. Perry Shockey, same thing. Coached the Lethbridge Hurricanes all the way to the Memorial Cup. coaches with the Pats, scouted for the LA Kings. They're all in hockey. I'm all in broadcasting. There's a pro scout here for the New Jersey Devils by the name of Andre Savard. He's from Quebec City. I see him all the time. And I said to him, what did you do before you were scouting, Andre? He goes, I was a coach, assistant coach with the Devils. Thick French accent. And I said, well, what do you like better, coaching or scouting? And he goes, they're both fun. Scouting just happens to be what I'm doing now. It's the same with me, John. I'm still broadcasting every day. That would be my answer to that. By the way, don't get ahead of yourself. But Scott in Vancouver writes in and he says, NFL draft tomorrow, then CFL draft on Tuesday. I think that'll be tomorrow's poll question. What will have more interest or intrigue, the CFL draft or the NFL draft? And before you jump off the couch or whatever you're doing or wherever you're watching, they're so geeked up about this NFL draft right here. Like, that's not something that would ever change. But even Mike Florio this morning on NBC Sports Radio was saying there's no drama after round one, which I put in my weekend column. I said the exact same, after the first pick, forget the opening round, the CFL draft actually has a little more, like the number one prospect, Akeem Mesidor, the Miami Hurricanes. He's going to get an NFL look. He started 12 games this year for the Miami Hurricanes. We're in the national championship. Will he go number one? I think there's more drama in the CFL draft than the NFL draft. And by the way, to finish that off, thank you, John Ohm. And I get you. I feel you, bro. He writes in, he says, hey, as in calling games. Yes, I have been here from day one. Bless. I don't think about that. That's where we differ. I think about what I'm doing today and doing the best job of that. I don't think about what else I could be doing. Maybe I should. I don't know. I just don't. Colton San Diego writes in and says, it's not the best draft class, but I'm still going to watch. We're going to watch. Well, I'm for sure going to be watching the NFL draft. I probably won't tune into the CFL draft. We'll see. When I say they're geeked up, sauna stories, stick with me. It would be the greatest television show. I got so many notes here I didn't even get to today, but that's okay. Sauna stories. We can't put a camera up in the corner of the sauna. I feel like that would be inviting a lawsuit or something. But just today, we're all sitting around in there. It's like a scene from a movie. And I say, did you hear that Fernando Mendoza's not going to the draft? This guy, I don't even know his name, but I talk to him every day. I don't even know his name. He goes, what? He's not going? No, he's staying here in Miami. He's like, but he's still eligible, right? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. And he's not going back to Indiana. He's going to Vegas, but he's not going. Oh. And they're like on red alert for this NFL draft. And, of course, it helps that Fernando Mendoza is from here. And they also talked about FAU basketball. That's the university, just down the 1.8 miles from me because I walk it from the football stadium. They've lost every player from their basketball team. The vaunted Owls, FAU Owls that went to the Final Four a couple years ago, have lost every one of their players because of NIL and the transfer portal. And we got into just the scene of sports right now. It's insane. Wild. I don't know why you'd want to coach it or whatever. 902-518-3033. The bracelet says one day at a time. So, now, I don't think about what I miss. I spend thousands of hours and dollars on working with a life coach to get me out of that thinking. I don't think about what could be or what I miss. I think about what is and try and enjoy it to the fullest. And it works. Tony from the Bridge City wrote in, said he's been sick for weeks. I said, maybe it's COVID. I just want to finish up this conversation for you all. Tony says, that COVID thought crossed my mind during this ordeal. Not the best way to lose 15 pounds. What can you do? Have a great day and good-looking shirt. Good, sir. Hey, thank you. It's more of a jacket. I'm going to tell you right now. But I'm getting all kinds of compliments on this thing. The second I walked in, because it was cold last, I did not go to the Marlins game to be cold. It was warm outside. I go into the stadium. They got the roof closed. They're pumping AC. I'm like, oh, I need a jacket. So I went into this, saw this thing. I'm like, oh, that's got my name right on it right there. And Chris from the Bronx goes, oh, that is a Florida jacket, if there ever was one. And I said, don't even ask me how much this thing costs, but I don't spend a lot of money on myself. John Ohm always has the way of words. Says, thanks, Rod. By the way, this is the best damn sports show, period. I appreciate it. And I enjoy it. Every single day, I enjoy it. Every single day I get out of bed, I can't wait to do this show. And that really wasn't the case before calling games. Maybe it was just the situation I was in. I don't know. But I really like this. I think that comes across. That's why you're here. Well, and that was listen, Scott and Vancouver, we know, Scott, but I appreciate you chiming in. He says Mendoza's mom has multiple sclerosis and can't travel to the draft, so he wants to be with her when his name is called. I salute him for I get it. There's extenuating circumstances. I totally get it. We all do. It was just a top discussion point. That's a conversation that we talked about 2 weeks ago. I'm sure you remember because you're here every day. I feel like I'm going to carry some of these comments over to next hour because just a quick sports update here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was named the NBA's Clutch Player of the Year after leading the league with 175 points in clutch situations. Billy Donovan is leaving the Bulls after spending the last 6 seasons as their head coach, opting to step away following a major shakeup to the team's front office earlier this month. From the NHL, the top-seeded Avalanche beat the Kings 2-1 in overtime Tuesday night to take a commanding 2-0 series lead in round 1. The Mammoth knotted things up against the Golden Knights. The Bruins rebounded against the Sabres, and the Lightning drew even with the Canadiens in the game of the night, 3-2 in overtime, Tampa beating Les Habitants. We're going to talk a lot more about that next hour. And Janice Taylor will be joining us as well, the founder and CEO of WilsonQ. I'm tell you, I'll say it now. The two things that I love in sports or in life are sports and wellness. And when they combine, it makes things really interesting and fun. And that's what Janice is doing with her latest project and startup. And it's a hell of a story. And you might, well, I know you're going to be interested in it. You might even want to be part of it to the degree that you can. So Janice will be with us next hour talking about that. So stick with us, everybody. 902-518-3033. I'm still enjoying answering your questions as well. So fire them our way on the Western Dodge text line or the YouTube chat. We'll talk some more NFL draft next hour when we come back. It's the RP Show. You're watching on Game Plus TV and listening on WQVZ.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
We are back at it on a Wednesday. Welcome to the RP Show, everybody. Rocking our way into likely your living room. If you're tuned in on Silver State Sports across Nevada, we welcome everybody watching in the Silver State. Or as we roll into Hour 2 on Game Plus TV, we say hello again across Canada and 33 states. Maybe you're listening over the radio on WQVZ. However you found us, thank you for making us part of your day. Our guest today is Janice Taylor. The viewers love her. She's back, the founder and CEO of WilsonQ. She's a little like me when you ask her, what's your title? There's like 5 or 6 things. Let's go with this is the latest. And that's where her focus is now. Janice is going to be with us a little later on. Going to talk about wellness, going to talk about sports. And to be honest, AI in sports is one of the things she wants to talk about. And that hooked me, because I haven't really got my mind around that yet either, but she has. She's been doing it for a long time. Janice Taylor coming up for Prairie Panels a little later on. But let's get down to business with the quick 6 show topics and the warm-up brought to you by our friends at Uniglobe Carefree Travel and Neil Chark, the official travel partner of the RP Show, and the BC Lions. I'm not ready to put Tuesday night's games in the National Hockey League to bed yet, the Stanley Cup playoffs. And again, full disclosure, I was at Lone Depot Park watching the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals with my buddy Chris from the Bronx, and we had a great time. But my phone's blowing up there last night about what was going on in Tampa Bay, the brawl for it all. And I'm going to spend more time on the Utah-Vegas game here, although not a ton of time, because you people are telling me that was your 4th most interesting game for you based on our Country Thunder poll, our Game of the Night poll last night. But I'll just say this. Tampa Bay got back to who they were. Oddly enough, I only went 2 for 4 in my picks last night for Pump Jacks Cathedral and Pump Jacks Weyburn. Come early and stay late at the place where friends meet. Odd in that Arlen Bruce beat me. I don't think Arlen Bruce has ever had skates on in his life. The former Chiefs and 49ers receiver, 2-time Grey Cup. He beat me in the picks for the NHL last night. Just tells you never really know what's going to happen, and you got to watch. But my phone was blowing up with screenshots and my friends saying, mostly Habs fans, by the way, which makes me really happy that so far through 2 games in this series, we can actually be friends and have adult conversations about this series despite our rooting interests, because they all know that I will always be the Florida NHL guy. That's who I'm rooting for. It's made our podcast relevant, the Cats and Bolts podcast. And yeah, the Habs have enough fans. They weren't happy last night. They lost 4-3, 3-2 in overtime to Tampa Bay. The series is 1-1 going up to the Centre Bell. And it was the game of the... You're right. I mean, our viewers, you're smart because you're here. But these poll questions, we don't do them just because they're sold for a sponsor, which incidentally is Country Thunder. The biggest party of the summer is coming to Craven, Saskatchewan, July 9th to the 12th, featuring Lainey Wilson and Creed. You can get your tickets now at countrythunder.com/SK. But you voted the game of the night was the Habs and the Lightning, and boy, was it ever. Yeah, I missed it in terms of watching it because I was at Lone Depot Park with 5,999 other fans, which is a story for another day. But I was driving home listening to it on the radio, and I heard the winning goal, and J.J. Moser scored it for the Lightning. And again, it was a roughhouse game. Lightning got back to who they are. They're bullies. They want to be known as the dirtiest team in the NHL. And I've talked enough about that. I talked a lot about it last hour. It's not an insult to call a hockey team the dirtiest team in the NHL. I don't know if people are ever going to get that through their heads, but I would think John Cooper would say, thank you. Thanks for noticing. Within the boundaries of the rules, mostly. The other game, Utah. We're getting so many viewers now joining us from Salt Lake City, which I also get. You know, Chris from the Bronx, who I went with last night. It was Veterans Night. They give 2 free tickets to a game a month to Air Force, Army, and Navy veterans. And Chris always takes me. He's a vet. And he just said, people love your show because of the nature of it. You have your niche. We talk a lot of hockey here, and people actually do love it in the USA. And we all know where it stands in Canada. Logan Cooley scored off a rebound with 6 minutes to go to give the Utah Mammoth a victory in Vegas Tuesday night, and they will head back to Utah with a split of the first 2 games. 3-2 was the final score. Cooley, a 21-year-old from Pittsburgh, is the youngest U.S.-born player to score a goal in each of his first 2 playoff games. How about that? It's the first playoff victory for the Mammoth since the organization relocated from Arizona 2 years ago. It was the Golden Knights' first regulation defeat under coach John Tortorella. And, you know, back to what I was saying earlier, fans are going to get upset. John Tortorella is not going to get upset. Kelly McCrimmon is not going to get upset. Yeah, they don't like to lose, but they're not worried. Just like John Cooper wasn't worried after Game 1, losing to Montreal. These guys have been through the fire, and they know. I still laugh at John Cooper saying, were you upset at the officiating tonight, John? No, I was upset at us and the sheer stupidity of our players. Yes, you can still say, I'm not calling you stupid. You're acting stupid. And they came back and took it out. And the same thing with Vegas. And then I just feel like that will be the longest series is Utah-Vegas, probably going 7. I have Vegas picked to win the series, but I don't know. It's been fun. I'm shocked that finished 4th in the poll of the game of the night yesterday. Boston beat Buffalo 4-2. That series is 1-1. Colorado beat LA 2-1 in overtime. Nick Roy, the game winner at 7:44 of overtime. First overtime. Avalanche up 2-0. The warm-up is brought to you by Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the preferred travel partner of the RP Show and the BC Lions. When it comes to sports trips, group travel, or your next great getaway, trust the pros who handle every detail so you can enjoy the journey. Contact Neil Chark with Uniglobe Carefree Travel. Okay, to point 2 of the Quick Six show topics. It's tonight in the National Hockey League. And I guess I've been putting off making my picks. Well, I got a pretty good idea, I think, how it's going to go. So the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia series has been a gooder, if you're a Flyers fan. And shout out again, I passed it along last hour. I will here too. Jeff Chikrin wanted me to pass along to you people. Thanks for the warm welcome yesterday. The Philadelphia Flyers alum, former LA King, Penguin and Oiler, Jeff Chikrin made his RP show debut yesterday. Had a great time. Said he had a blast, and you guys were so nice to him. So he said, thanks for that. And he said, Rick Tocchet is Philadelphia hockey. Or yeah, he said talk is Philadelphia hockey. And I think that will be the shortest series. Now, I did pick Philly to win, but I didn't think it'd be a sweep. And it might not be, but it's certainly going that way. That's my game of the night, is as I land the plane of what I think is the game of the night in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. Matthew Barnaby, our good friend Barney, says the rink in Philadelphia is the most hostile barn in the National Hockey League. Any night. Especially Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, Philly hadn't been in the playoffs for, 6-7 years? I'm getting tingles. I can't wait for the game tonight. I don't even care about either team. Flyers, Penguins. Oh, Dallas, Minnesota, also tonight, which probably the best series. And because the teams are so even, the series is 1-1. That'll probably go at least 6, maybe 7 as well. And then Anaheim at Edmonton tonight. The Oilers are up 1-0, and I don't think this series needs to be long. As I said, 902-518-3033 is the text line. It's brought to you by Western Dodge. Hey, some people have just showed up. Jeff in Toronto writes in. He says, Rod's rocking the Miami Vice look with a sunburn. I'll go back and just explain the deal. It was hot here. It's hot every day in Florida, but it was hot. I went to the ballpark last night with my boy Chris from the Bronx, and it was cold in there. They had the roof closed, and they had the AC pumping. So I walked into the souvenir store to get a jacket. He wanted to get a hat. And I'm like, that thing looks like me. And he says, oh, there's a Florida jacket for you. It was expensive. It's a baseball jacket is what it is. And this thing's coming back to Sask with me this summer. And as far as the sunburn goes, I was announcing football on Sunday for the Chiefs. And I spent far more time outside, off-season thing with the Chiefs than I should have. I should have had a hat on, okay? I was standing out there. It's hilarious. I'll tell you a quick story. I was wearing a golf shirt that said FAU, Florida Atlantic University, and the players were all over me. Hey, coach. And I'm like, I'm just the announcer. And one of the referees is like, we got a clipboard. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm writing down the scores. I'm tracking the stats. I'm not wearing an FAU shirt again. But I got a bit of a burn. And down here, that's not something you fool with. Jason in Red Deer writes, and he says, the game of the night for me is Penguins Flyers, because if the Pens lose, they're cooked. I just think it's going to be a great game. But you're also right. Jeff in Toronto says, I am jealous. It's been 40s and cloudy the past week. I'm assuming you're talking Fahrenheit. Let me get back on point here. Other than to say, Jeff the Stamps fan says, watch that skin. It could really haunt you in another 20 years. Thanks, Mom. I have one, but thanks. 902-518-3033. Janice Taylor coming up next. Founder, CEO of WilsonQ. Oh, trust me, if we have time, and I think we will have time to get to MLB, NBA, NFL. But what I say, when it's just me and you, I feel like the Larry King of sports. Laverne in Swift Current. Hello. He writes in 902-518-3033. He says, Sonny Mehta is the new general manager in Jersey. Interesting resume. As a poker player and stock trader, now a general manager of the Devils. Obviously a smart man. Sounds like quite the dude to be running the show in New Jersey. I mentioned, you obviously don't read my weekend newsletter, Laverne. You need to sign up for that for free. See it on the screen right now. Go to rodpedersen.com, click on newsletter. It's free. It's brought to you by Suds, by the way. Full service car wash. But I addressed that. Sonny has been the assistant general manager here in Florida for the last few years, and I see him at every game. He's a nice guy. You got to be careful with the media, of course. I say it all the time. I don't know how many of these people that are saying Sonny doesn't have much of a personality have ever even met him. Sonny has a disposition that matches his name. Sonny. He's always smiling. He's always visiting. He's gregarious. He's around the press box all the time. Now, he's a numbers guy, which actually kind of rolls into one thing Janice wants to talk about when she joins us next, is the AI in sports, because whether you like it or not, it's not coming. It's here. Sonny was the head of analytics for the Florida Panthers and the assistant general manager. And I would hire a hockey guy if I owned the team. I would. But that's not to say that I'm right. You know, and my dad worked 26 years for the National Hockey League's Dallas Stars as a scout. Those guys don't really care for the numbers. I told that story in my weekend newsletter, so I don't want to bore the people that read it, but one of my dad's buddies, who's going into the same Hall of Fame for scouts this summer that my dad went in last year, goes, oh, Your buddy in Arizona, he's a numbers guy, huh? Never seen numbers win a hockey game. Line numbers up on the blue line. See if they can actually beat actual hockey players. That's not me, but I'm kind of with him. There's a place for analytics, and Janice is going to get into that in the next segment. So it's a great point. I nothing against Sonny. It's just I would hire a hockey guy. I mean, here in Florida, why it worked, Bill Zito's a hockey guy. And why he's always top of the polls of the GM that you would want running your team is because of the way he runs the team. He treats everybody with dignity and respect. That's still a major thing, by the way. Dignity and respect. Believe it or not, it is. Which, am I way off point and track here? But that's okay. That tends to happen. It is still a thing in sports because I look at, for the Canadians, you would have a tough time believing this. It took me a long time to figure it out. All my friends here in South Florida aren't following hockey anymore, especially the Panthers fans. They're like, the Panthers are out. We're done. I'm like, what? But I get it. If the Raptors are out, I don't really hang on the NBA playoffs. If the Blue Jays are out, I'm definitely not following the MLB playoffs. I'm guessing you're the same. But for the hockey fans that are here, and there are literally millions, we have the data. I'm still following the Tampa Bay Lightning series. We're going to do the Cats and Bolts podcast this afternoon. We're dragging the Panthers fans that still want to follow hockey into that series. And guess what? They're actually enjoying it. And I never, ever did dump on the Lightning. And from day one when I got here, the Panthers especially, you know that story, but the Lightning too. They're like, you show us respect, we'll show you respect. It's the way it should be. And so going into this Montreal series, as much as I have the fun with the Montreal, they're kind of a pain and annoying Montreal. Because when I asked for a spot in the press box for this series, the Lightning were like, Rod, you normally, we'd have a spot. But Montreal's here. They got 150 media with them. Press box is full. I get it. We'll see what happens next round. Ole, ole, ole. Man, you got to watch for the whole 2 hours. Colton San Diego writes and he says, did you get a hot dog at the baseball game last night? Yeah, I got a 12-inch chili dog. And I quoted Bobby Lowe's on it. It was just okay. It was just okay. But the one that I got at the Cowboys game that was flame broiled with chili, cheese, and jalapenos, it doesn't get better. Compare every hot dog to that. We'll get to your questions and comments. If you have any for Janice, fire them our way now. 902-518-3033. Janice Taylor joins us next. You're watching the RP Show across Nevada on Silver State Sports and across Canada here on Game Plus TV.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back to the RP Show, everybody, on Silver State Sports and Game Plus TV. Our guest spot brought to you by Prairie Panels. Are you building a shop, barn, rink, or commercial space? Prairie Panels provides high-quality insulated wall and roof panels designed for durability and energy efficiency. Visit prairiepanels.ca or call 306-985-0050. Our guest is Janice Taylor. What I love about her is when I ask your title, it's like, well, it could be many things. The latest is founder and CEO of WilsonQ. Janice, it's been a couple weeks. Welcome back to the program. What have you been up to?
Thank you. Oh my gosh, so much. But thank you for having me. And can I just say hello to your fabulous fans and your listeners, because they're always so kind to me when I come here. And so when you asked me to come back, I'm like, of course, because your people are the best. So thank you. So we have been so busy with not only designing WilsonQ, which is a small language AI technology, but we've also been building the Athlete Optimization Collective. So those two things. And then the third bucket for my fellow women is we've been working on perimenopause retreats for the perimenopausal women of the world. So if any listeners have wives, or if the wives ourselves, we kind of work in those three buckets. So it's been really, really, really good, interesting.
Well, good. Well, I know you've been busy. And to be honest, you gave me some speaking points. I'm going to go a little out of order with them if you don't mind, because the AI thing's been coming up a lot this week and last. AI in sports. And you've been doing this for a while. Can you make it make sense for people? Because I feel like a lot of people don't understand it.
Yes. Thank you for asking me this question. I've been in technology 17 years, and I was the first woman to launch a digital animation AI product across pro sports in 2014. So I was very early in AI. So first, it's like to understand what's the usefulness of AI and what it's not useful for. So right now, I think you have a major disconnect between the population and what it does and what it is, and those that really understand it. And I think that gap needs to be narrowed, because where you have a few people really understanding it and a lot of people not, that's where you have corruption, consumption that you don't need, data that isn't useful, and then you have this massive confusion. And then ultimately you've got a guy making a decision who's going to eliminate jobs. And like you were mentioning in the break, like your dad that was a scout that could see things, that's still really important. We still need humans in sports. You still need humans to understand the game because there's a lot of nuance. And because we do emotional fitness, there's a lot of nuance in emotion. And you can't code that. And you also can't use data for that. So that I want to say out, from the gates. But what you can use AI for is pattern recognition. So where AI is really good that humans can't see is they can look at swaths of data. So let's use sports. You can look at hundreds of thousands of games, and you're looking at the games and you may be following, a Connor McDavid around and looking at him, but you may not notice the 4 other guys or how they respond or what they do, right? And you don't know if that's actually effective and useful for someone like a star player like Connor. So what AI can do is it can look for the patterns that humans can't see. But that still has to fall into the hands of a human to actually, believe that this is. Can it be optimized or changed? And does it impact the outcome of whether someone wins or loses or not? And the most effective, use of data is to do things that humans can't. So what I always say to people that are interested in AI, I'm always like, AI isn't to replace humans. It's to do things humans can't. And what we're doing right now is like AI for food, AI for this, AI, like, to be quite frank, most of the AI data consumption is completely useless. In fact, it doesn't optimize anything, but people are like, oh, collect the data. And then they're like, share the data. But actually, when you're looking at AI as how it computes things, it doesn't use 99% of the data that we hoard. So it's completely inconsequential. And so when we look at these large language models like OpenAI or ChatGPT, they are consumption machines. They are the cookie monster who doesn't know how to stop eating. They don't actually know how to decipher or to thread or to really sift through the data in a proper way for a use case. So this is why we build on what's called a small language model, which is they're verticalized for specific use cases. So if sports really wanted to understand how to utilize AI better, they would use something like what we do, which is Wilson. Wilson is a small language model that analyzes 4-quadrant health behavior. So we look at your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health. And what we can see is how this system responds in real time. So I'll give you an example, and I'd love to know the examples from your people if they have some. Say a guy wins or scores 100 points against the lowest team. Easy to do, right? You can go out and jack up and score 100 points in a basketball game. But then what happens when that player has to play someone of their equivalence? So let's say that they have to play or guard someone in basketball or hockey or anything else that's just as good as them. Do they get better or do they get worse? And so what you'll notice is that there's a pattern in that behavior. So you can use AI to analyze that kind of response to emotion, which is what we do, which is we believe is like sort of the secret ingredient. But right now, the nonsense, and I want to say this in full love because I'm in technology, the nonsense of everyone trying to package AI and sell it to sports is nonsensical. Because the main thing is you've got a bunch of Luddites, for lack of a better term, still running a lot of hockey teams and and then you've got a lot of like people telling them, oh, you can use this AI. Well, yes and no, like if it's not built specifically for your use case, it's like the example I just gave you, it's not very useful. You can have lots of insights, but at the end of the day, you still have to have these athletes perform. And the thing that we look at the most, which again, I'd love to know your audience on this, is we look at the combination of 3 players. And so it shows up in Phil Jackson's, triangulation and how his triangle offense works. If you look at any major dynasty that's done well, Wasn't one guy, it was 3 guys. So if you look at, for example, like I'll use Gretzky, Messier, and Coffey. There's a good example of a combination of 3. If you looked at Jordan, maybe you'd look at, Jordan, Pippen, and maybe Rodman, or you'd look at another player that you'd put in there. If you look at Magic Johnson, it was Magic Johnson, Kareem, Worthy. You kind of look through the combination. And so where an organization can actually look at something effectively is you look at the combination of players together, and that's how you can elevate performance. So I'd love to know if your audience has other combinations of 3s, like Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Irving. There's another combination of 3.
That's my
if you
team.
Kind of look at it.
Yeah.
Is that your team? So if you kind of look at that combination, those that don't have really high emotional fitness from the combination of the 3, they often won't win. And so there's an often disconnect. So from an emotional fitness perspective, utilize AI is, it's really to reveal patterns that a human can't see.
I'm just enjoying listening to you. And while my mind went somewhere with the Cowboys thing, we're still trying to find the magic trio in Dallas. That's another story for another time. But I just find it fascinating. And my mind, as you were talking, my mind's going, well, Connor Bedard is a kid that the better players he's with, he gets better. He doesn't sink. And that would seem very elementary, but it's not elementary, because a lot of guys, when you surround them with the better talent, they sink. He gets better. And but that's a special player. Right.
You can actually train that in someone. And so, for example, if someone's scouting players right now, chances are what they're scouting is like how many points, how many assists, how many rebounds in basketball, like how many points played, what's his ERA. Like, you're looking at numbers that are really, really useful. And so what we do is we look at exactly these factors of emotional fitness scores. Like, we actually have, it's called an EFI index. And we can predict how that person will respond to that kind of pressure before they're. So like, if you take a Connor Bedard as a great example, like, he just elevates, right? He gets better and better. We saw this with Macklin as well, right? Sabrini, we saw him playing with Sidney Crosby during the Olympics, and the kid just got better and better and better as it went on, right? Like, he's a good example of that, because when you have healthy emotional fitness, you absorb the energy of rising. But you also have enough guys with a maturity level, like a Sidney Crosby and the rest, that you're surrounded with, that are really excited for a kid like Macklin, right? That to score, like, you want him to do well. And so that ego, which is like, no, I'm the best ever. No, you can't be me. And you don't elevate the next generation of guys. What you have is actually, it's an energy that's felt. And so that is emotional fitness at its prime. And so what we try to do, we've been meeting with different agents in different sports, and, we've got lots of athletes. So if people want to head to the athletes.wilson4q.com, you can read about the collective. I've been interviewing a lot of athletes post-career and all kinds. I had a great conversation with Terrell Owens. I talk with a lot of athletes. And I often will ask them, like, what's the one thing you could do different? Like, if you were to look at your whole career, and not specifically Terrell Owens, but all of the athletes, the one thing that they often will say is that they would have checked their ego a bit more. They often will say, like, I wish I would have had emotional fitness then, that I could have checked my ego and enjoyed the ride more, like enjoyed the process, because when it ends, that ego crumbles. And so this is what we're doing with the Athlete Optimization Collective, which is 30 athletes. We're bringing them together. We're giving them all of this optimized health. We're using Wilson to analyze it, and we're following them for 12 months, and then their scores. So we've got 5 guys MLB, 5 guys NHL, 5 guys in each of the 4 leagues, plus 5 in NCAA and 5 military. And there's a little bit of a competition amongst them all, in different ways. But essentially what we're bringing together is we're really looking for this next act. But in interviewing these athletes, that's the thing that they feel humbled by now that the show is over, is like, oh, darn, why didn't I should have checked that ego ahead of time. And so what you see in where franchises fall apart, they often don't fall apart because of talent or skill. And so they don't often fall apart there. Where they fall apart, like they just don't. They fall apart in this emotional fitness category, which is what we're doing with all of the athletes.
You realize you're setting up part 4 of this interview. And of course, my mind went to the Cowboys falling apart and ego of the owner and the coaches. But you've brought up emotional fitness many times. I don't really know what it is, and I work in the industry. And I know we're running out of time. That's why we're going to have part 4. We had like 5 minutes. You're good. But how would you explain emotional fitness to the layman?
Okay. Emotional fitness is an emotional center in your body, no different than your heart and your brain. Think about an emotional system like a box that receives signals, emotion first before you think it. So it enters your body before you've thought about it. Like you don't think before you breathe, you just breathe, right? But that actually came from a signal to say to breathe. When you think something, it actually started as a feeling first. So you can imagine this little box inside of yourself that has its own engine, its own system. It functions in a specific way. That is injured in 99% of the world's population. So emotional fitness is optimizing that box. It's not talk therapy. It's not mental health. Mental is head. This is your sensory system. It is your system that receives signals. Should I be afraid? Should I like this? Is this good? Should I pass the puck? Should I shoot? Should I do anything? Before you've made a decision, it starts in your emotional system. I spent the last 30 years of my life studying that system and learning that it was injured, unbeknownst to most human beings in the world, globally. Doesn't matter your gender or age or where you're from. It's injured, and it's injured before your 10th birthday. I wanted to prove that it could be optimized, healed, and defined. So you can think about emotional fitness just like you do your physical fitness. In your physical fitness, you have calories and food. And does your body move? Do you have breath? That's your physical fitness. And you need to eat well and move in order to optimize it. And athletes optimize their physical body. And now they say they're optimizing their mental fitness, how they think. But they haven't even touched the system that actually sends the signal to how they think. So we work in that unknown area that's never been defined, because I spent 30 years of my life defining it and studying it and proving that it could be healed. And not just healed, that it could be optimized. It can and is your superpower. And so you can optimize it.
Oh, I'm smiling because they don't even know it's there, as you know.
No.
I'm just trying to I'm trying to communicate that to the viewers, right? Because we go fast, and I'm fascinated by this. Clearly, you're fascinated by this, and I feel like everybody will be once they get onto it, And I guess that's why it's important that you get the word out.
Exactly. Thank you. And you can sort of think like, okay, I'll use Tiger as an example. Everyone thinks that Tiger is an addict, and he's a train wreck, and he's mentally crumbling, right? That's what people think. I look at Tiger and see a very underdeveloped emotional system. I see someone who is unable to manage any feeling that he has. So he numbs and stuff, it goes into his head, and he's trying to do the same thing, beating his head against the wall, not understanding it. And so every human being alive has an emotional system. What you don't know is that everything starts in that first, before it goes to the physical body and before it goes to your mental body. It starts in the emotional system. And what we're here to do and what you're doing, Rod, that's so important, and your audience here is to share this, is that this is not mental health. Emotional fitness is like an organ in your body, for lack of a better term. And you need to make sure it's healthy because it governs everything you do. Everything you do as a human being, everything you do. So for athletes that have optimized their mental fitness and their physical, they've ignored this. But this is where the data is interesting. In AI, I have trained Wilson to look at patterns to see the emotional system.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll finish it the next time. Janice, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Janice. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right.
Bye.
Keep in touch.
Thank
Janice
you.
Taylor joining us,
Bye.
everybody from WilsonQ. We'll be coming right back with a sports update and viewer takeover. You're watching the RP Show across Nevada on Silver State Sports in Canada here on Game Plus TV.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Well, that was just a ton of fun. Thank you for your interest, keeping the discussion going here. 902-518-3033. David, number 2 in Winnipeg, writes in, because there are 3 from Winnipeg that write in. David, number 10, and says, Janice is the bomb. Yes, she is fantastic. She really is. And every interview just leads very well into the next. I see that there's a war going off, not literal, but verbal in the YouTube chat on AI. And I don't know. It's not like Janice needs to be the salesperson for AI, but I guess if it can be used healthily, that's a good thing, which I think she said right off the start. I mentioned that when I was announcing baseball in Wellington, Florida here last year, the lady turned to me, Curtis Pride's wife, Lisa, the Expo's great. And she's like, you're going to be replaced by AI. And I said, not well. She goes, you're right. Anyways, a sports update here on this Wednesday. I haven't done my picks yet either, but one more day of telling you what happened one more hour of telling you what happened last night in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. The top-seeded Avalanche beat the Kings 2-1 in overtime to take a commanding 2-0 series lead. The Utah Mammoth knotted things up against the Golden Knights, beating Vegas 3-2 in the Fortress. It's 1-1 going back to Salt Lake City. Boston Bruins rebounded against the Sabres, beat them 4-2. And the Lightning drew even with the Canadiens. That series is now tied at a game each. Well, I'll save the picks for the next segment for overtime. As mentioned earlier, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was named the NBA's Clutch Player of the Year after leading the league with 175 points in clutch situations. Final 5 minutes of fourth quarter / overtime when the score is within 5 points. That's the interesting thing about analytics, which I feel like there's a difference between analytics and AI. Analytics have been around forever. They've been tracking these things. They're just popular now. Points in the last 5 minutes. Would like to think people have been tracking that for 50 years. Maybe not. I'm not a basketball guy. Downs has acquired the intellectual property rights to the Preakness Stakes for $85 million. The move sets the stage for Churchill, which owns and operates the Kentucky Derby, to link the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown and potentially move the date of the Preakness. Horse racing is a sport, too. The sports updates brought to you by Ultimate Fan Zone. Rough Riders, Blue Jays, NFL, NHL, you name it, they've got it. Rep your team loud and proud with Ultimate Fan Zone Sports Store. Shop now at ultimatefanzone.ca. What do we got here? A full 15 minutes until the top of the hour. That's a lot of time for you to get to me. 902-518-3033. Oh, I'm sorry. Laverne in Swift Current. Hello. He says, so a question for your guest, Janice. Can analytic general managers like Sonny bring culture to a team like the New Jersey Devils need? That's why I could tell during that interview that there's going to need to be a part 4. I can't answer that for her. I can't. I'd love to say that I can, but I can't. I mean, she is watching in the YouTube chat because she's been responding to viewers here, so maybe she can take a swing at that. And yeah, as far as the argument over where AI's place is in the world, I don't want to get into that. I guess I would answer this about the Sonny Meta thing with the New Jersey Devils. We're going to find out because he seems like a nice guy. What can't be lost at the heart of all this is good people need to be at the top of organizations. And I could sit here and talk about the Philadelphia Flyers for a long time. And Chick and I did a little bit here yesterday on this show, Jeff Chikrin. Keith Jones. Everybody loves Keith Jones. And look what he's done in charge of the Philadelphia Flyers. Is he using analytics? He's not an analytics guy as far as I know. But if Sonny Meta treats people with respect like his boss here in Florida, Bill Zito, did, he's got a chance. I said earlier, I would hire a hockey guy still with a very strong analytics arm. I would not be using it to run my hockey team. or my TV show or my website. But it is a fun debate if people can have it and not get upset, which is where the emotional fitness kind of comes in. Overtime's next with NHL picks. We'll be right back. Yeah, I see you, AB. We'll be right back.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. Okay, welcome back for Overtime, everybody, here on Silver State Sports and the Game Plus TV network. I'm back. I shouldn't maybe be surprised because nothing really surprises me anymore, but how much the hiring of Sonny Mehta by the New Jersey Devils has got people talking. Now, that doesn't surprise me that Ryan in upstate New York writes in Saratoga about it because he's a Devils fan. He says, "G'day, Rod Squad. Are sunny days ahead in New Jersey? We're about to find out." That's the whole point. The whole idea of will it work out, will it not work out? I would hope that was talked about before they hired Sonny Mehta. You got him now. We'll see. He's a good guy, and he's a smart guy. That is a very good start. Arlen Bruce checking in, the Chiefs and 49ers alum. He says, RP, for the chat, Flyers, Wild, and Oilers tonight. He says, I appreciate you, RP, keeping me relevant. Game of the night, Ducks, Oilers. Well, I would say the same thing to you, AB, about me. Thank you. I promised the picks for Pump Jack's Cathedral, Pump Jack's Weyburn, Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. If you're going to order in pizza, go to the Mad Greek. Or go there to, and they don't have TVs there. They don't have TVs there at the Mad Greek. We need to work on that. But they sure the hell do at Pump Jack's. That's where I would advocate you go watch the Stanley Cup Playoffs. I got Philadelphia to win tonight. That one is going to be raucous. Dallas at Minnesota. I feel like Minnesota will win the first one back home in their barn. That'll be a great game. I guess there is a difference when we say what's the game of the night, and that's the poll for Country Thunder. What will be the best game? Probably Dallas, Minnesota. Probably Dallas, Minnesota. But as far as hype, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Battle of Pennsylvania, 8th all-time series between those two rivals. And then don't even talk up to the Oilers fans. You know what they think is the game of the night. Oilers home to the Ducks, and Oilers will win tonight, right? Does anybody disagree that the Edmonton, even AB, not that he doesn't know hockey, he was 3 for 4 last night, but we all expect the Oilers will win tonight, do we not? Scruffy had the perfect answer yesterday when I said, when did you realize that the Oilers never do it easily? When did that dawn on you? When did you accept that? They never take the easy way, the Edmonton Oilers. He said 1984. In the Stanley Cup final. I'm like, good answer. Only 42 years ago, Scruffy figured it out. He ain't dumb. They're going back and forth in the YouTube chat. Most of it good. Jason in Red Deer says, mental health is the most important aspect of life at work, in sports, everywhere. AI is very useful for people who are afraid to talk to actual humans about their mental health. AI can go so deep. Yes, but just be careful with that. That's all I would. Be careful with that. And I feel like that's about as far as I want to go on that. Ooh, Sunny writes in. Is this Sunny in Vancouver? She says, I would like to know what teams should I choose tonight for NHL game. Well, as I say, Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Edmonton. All the home teams should make it easy for you to remember. Mm-hmm. Yeah, put a wrapper on this show. Can I say this? The very first note that I had written down that I haven't even got to it all day is, I miss newspapers. It's like this time of year. Not normally I don't, but this time of year I do. And I get that we don't really need them anymore. But I mean, 80s specifically, when I was growing up as a kid following the Stanley Cup playoffs, it was always exciting to grab the paper the next day after the games to see what the coach had to say. Now it was go to Instagram, see what John Cooper had to say right after. Like, I get it. But it was just so much fun seeing what Dick Chuby had to say in Edmonton and Terry Jones and the rumpled scribes in Toronto. You still can with Steve Simmons, but you know what I'm saying. Every market had him. Just sitting there hitting refresh on Instagram to see what John Cooper had to say. Where'd John Ohm go? Where'd my gong go? He's here. Says, great show, RP. Always keeping it fresh and interesting. That's the whole idea, as Johnny Athens loves to say. That's the whole idea. Tomorrow, we're changing up the train a little bit from the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Snowman in the morning, Brian Snow is going to be with us from SITM Radio in Indiana. We'll be talking NFL Draft tomorrow, okay? And some Stanley Cup playoffs because he is a Blackhawks fan. Jeff the Stamps fan says, I miss newspapers too. But if you get your hands on one, it's not the same. Right, because the columns aren't there. That's a really good point. A really good point. Even if we had newspapers, which we do, they're not like they were. Hey, by the way, quick story. I was driving down to the Marlins game yesterday. I had the radio on 100.3 Legends Radio. They went from Sinatra to Tony Bennett. And the announcer said, what the hell did he say? It's Bobby Mitchell, your magician in the morning. I make the commercials disappear. I called Perry Nias immediately, old radio buddy of mine. I'm like, they still exist, Per. Brent in Saskatoon, great show. NHL playoffs. Janice, great 1-2 punch. Thanks, Rod. Have a good one, everyone. Yes, you as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to Janice for checking in. Stay tuned for part 4. And tomorrow, Kevin the Medium will be with us and Snowman in the morning. Until then, enjoy the hockey or whatever you're into tonight. Cats and Bolts, 3:30 streaming this afternoon live on YouTube. Check us out there. See you tomorrow on the RP Show.
That.